Coming up,
abuse continued. Been at the hospital, I've been at the police station. It was tough. He was like everywhere. There was nowhere I could go and hide.
Really?
There was nowhere.
Like he was stalking you.
He was stalking. We waited until my dad left and said, if you do not come back home to his house, he was going to kill me and my family.
He said that?
Yes.
This week on the Trailblazers, we have the riveting story of Dr. Karen Perez, CEO of Danvers Nursing Institute in Florida. She's a Jamaican that grew up in very poor circumstances and also experienced severe psychological and physical abuse. But she was able to overcome all of that and now has a doctorate and is using her mess and her message to inspire the lives of many right across the globe. Stay tuned.
Thanks to our partners, the Jamaica Pegasus Hotel, Kingston's preferred choice. Stars Publicity for all your public relations and publicity needs. Get noticed and align with the stars. DG's Health and Wellness Center, operated by certified nutritionist and health columnist Donovan Grant. Contact them today for all your weight loss and other nutritional needs. And Care is Beauty for all your skincare goals and more. Get 5% off each purchase from them using the discount code Tamara5 off. Learn more details on all these partners as well as links to their website by visiting the description box on the Trailblazers with Tamara McKayle YouTube channel.
What's your word to them?
I would say to fight. Fight for your dreams, fight for your purpose.
Life that inspires you, that motive that you aspire to be.
Right? Meaningful and critical. It's not a waste time movement, yeah, man.
In my humble opinion, is become very comfortable with yourself.
Very important. You know, the saying in Jamaica, one hand can't clap.
You forgive yourself for allowing people to mistreat you.
Disciplines that we need to embody.
You just have to work at it and be committed. Everyone.
And scary to have all of that fall away from you. And you have to celebrate those wins. Work with fitness clients.
For guidance, rely on Christ for support.
And no rush. I did it. I made my move into entrepreneurship at 40.
So scared that when...
What, last comments would you want to share with
you? Have your core values, you do the right things, they'll fall in place for you.
It is a pleasure to have you on the Trailblazers. You're looking fabulous.
Oh, thank you. You too. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much. So I should let my viewers know that Karen is joining us from Florida. She's a Jamaican living in Florida, and Karen has quite the story. So actually, I should let my viewers know Karen reached out to me, and when I looked, I realized that, oh my gosh, I remember this lady. So some years ago, she was actually on one of my mentors' program profile, the well-known profile with the late Ian Boyne. And boy, it was such an inspirational program. So, I was so delighted to have Karen now to come and share not only her story, but this is a different audience, but also give some updates on what she's been up to and also the work that she continues to do. So I'm so happy to have you.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you.
So we're going to just jump right into things. So you are originally from Jamaica, and you have, boy, when I looked at your bio, I was like, boy, this lady is remarkable because you have quite the story. You grew up poor and later on you experienced some amount of abuse. So you can share a bit with me and let us know how all of that transpired.
Yes. So in Jamaica, we actually lived, my mom, at the time, there was 4 of us, 2 boys, 2 girls. And we were the poorest one living in the community. We lived in a place called St. Catherine, but Kitson Town. And we were the poorest family living in the community. Sometimes the neighbors, they wouldn't even want their children to play with us.
Wow.
So it was tough growing up. So as I grew up, I went to what we called Spanish Town Secondary at the time. Now it's called Spanish Town Comprehensive. But every time that I'm speaking, I want everyone to know that I attended Spanish Town Secondary School in Jamaica, Spanish Town St. Catherine. That was called Comprehensive High. So back then I left my dad's house pretty early at the age of 16. He catch a boy at the gate one night. He wasn't too pleased. And I actually left.
You left?
I'm sorry?
You decided to leave?
Well, he was talking a lot of stuff. And I don't think that he thought I was going to call his bluff and leave. He didn't need to tell me twice. You can't stay here if you're not going to da 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 da. And so I take my little bungles of clothes and I left.
But that's interesting though, because a lot of times parents will say stuff, but to actually carry it out. So where did you go?
So I went to my uncle's house. I went to my uncle's house, and now, so I was still in school at the time. Needless to say, my attendance at school wasn't good at all, because back then we had shifts. We had morning shifts and evening shift. So I would go to school sometimes because there wasn't much oversight. My uncle would go to work, my aunt would go to work. So there wasn't much oversight. So at that time, they were living near Spanish Town, in Spanish Town area. So during that time, living at my uncle's home, I met this guy, was an older gentleman, much older than I was. And I was 16 years old, and I was actually working. They have something called working experience. So I did home economics in school. So they placed me at a restaurant called Jolly Good Food. I don't know if it's still there. And so I worked at the restaurant part-time and then go to school part-time. That was for my working experience. And after leaving school, I ended up working there too. They actually ended up hiring me. So during that time frame, that's when I met this man. And boy, was he pretty charming.
How old was he? I know you said he's older, but how old?
So at the time, the age that he told me that he was 30-something years old, and I was at the time 17. Mm-hmm. But when I found out that he was actually 40-something years old, up in his 40s at the time, yes.
Wow.
So he was pretty charming, I have to say. Not only that, he wore a suit, tie, shirt. He was working at this advertising agency. And I have to say that I was very happy. The fact that he saw me, yes, guy in a suit, saw me, kind of like that. And he was an older guy, wasn't a young guy, didn't, play around and stuff like that. So I was attracted to that.
Yes.
So, he actually ended up doing advertising for the restaurant that I was working with. So we got closer. So he got the gig and do the advertising company. So you can imagine a poor girl meeting a guy who actually worked with the advertising company. To me, that was like, that's nice.
Yeah.
And so we got in together. So remember, I was at my uncle's house at the time. Mm-hmm. So I started sleeping out because he had his own place. So where he lived, the work that he did, now that I'm looking back, didn't match where he lives. So he lives somewhere in Spanish Town called Scarlet Road. Now that's a garrison area where when war is breaking out in Spanish Town, that's where it takes place.
Wow.
So he lived in at Scarlet Road. So I would sleep out sometimes down there and so forth. My uncle wasn't having that sleep out thing. So he gave me one chance. And he said, if you sleep out again, you have to leave.
Wow. So
you know what I did?
Because you're brave and you're bad and bold. So you left.
So I slept out again. So my uncle was like, you can't stay here. And I did tell him to, and I said, I can't sleep out. My uncle is going to say something. So now when my uncle put me out and I took my bags down there, I think he was surprised. Because again, he's later find out a player. So now I'm cramping in style, now moving in.
Exactly.
Yes. So it was good for a couple of months. Back then it's so funny looking back. We used to buy back, they had bag juice. The bag juice used to sell for $1 at that time.
Wow.
Yes, $1 for $1. They used to call them dollar juice, $1 bag juice. And he have one, I have one. Looks romantic at that time, I can tell you. Oh my word, looking back. And then it didn't take long for a couple of months, the abuse started. Over nothing, I should say. An argument. And so the first time he hit me, I can't even remember what it was. I was shocked. I was shocked.
Wow.
And he apologized, I'll never do it again, and so forth and so on. But the abuse continued. Been at the hospital, I've been at the police station. It was tough.
And it was, you know, obviously physical for the fact that you went to the hospital, you went to the police station, but also were there other kinds of abuse as well?
There was psychological abuse, and that one, boy, is one of the, any kind of abuse is worse. But when it comes on to the psychological aspect of it, because the thing about it is that I'll run away, meaning that I remember once, and this is where the embarrassment that came in. He actually hit me in front of my baby sister. So she used to go to Jonathan Grant. Jonathan Grant. And she came to visit me in Scarlet Road. And he hit, now to me, I'm the older sister. For her, I defend her. I protect her. So when she came and she saw him hitting me, that was the time I remember to fight. That's the time and the only time I remember hitting back. But when I hit back is the more upset he got. Mm-hmm. So at that time, I packed up my stuff and say, I'm going back to my uncle's house. Mm-hmm. So I went back to my uncle's house and listen, he was like everywhere. There was nowhere I could go and hide.
Really?
There was nowhere.
Like he was stalking you?
Was stalking. At the time, I didn't know it was stalking, or the word, to use that concept or word, stalking. Everywhere I go, I'll see him. So my dad got a wind of it and said that you need to come back home. So he came to my uncle's house. My dad came to pick me up. And when my dad came to pick me up, then there come my boyfriend at the time. Now I was worried because my boyfriend, he lived in a garrison area. He knows gangster. He's exposed to certain equipment. My dad doesn't know that kind of life. So needless to say, oh my gosh, I wanted to die. I said, okay, kill me, but not my family. That's how I felt. Wow. So my dad actually said, go in the car. And I get in the car and my dad drove me home to the house. So he came, we waited until my dad left and said, if you do not come back home to his house, he was going to kill me and my family.
He said that?
Yes. So that's one of the worst things. And that's where the psychological part of it kicks in. So I actually went away to a country. My mom is from St. Elizabeth. So I went to St. Elizabeth. And I went to St. Elizabeth and I spent a month there. So my dad, I got word that my dad think I went back to him. So I was kind of disappointed that, you know, he left me at home, he protected me, now I'm gone back to him, but in fact, I was actually in St. Elizabeth. Mm-hmm. Now, my time is up, 1 month is over. Where do I go? Do I go back to daddy's house? Mm-hmm. Or do I go back to his house? Guess where I ended up?
At his house.
I went back to him. I can deal with him cursing or beating, but I couldn't deal with the disappointment of my dad.
Wow.
I think that I preferred to go there to deal with the embarrassment with him, but couldn't deal with the disappointment with my dad. So I went back there and I got pregnant. I had my so about 2 years, I got pregnant at the age of 19.
Wow. I mean, to not only experience that, because going through that in itself is a scary experience, the trauma of abuse, the psychological aspect as well, not only the physical, but the psychological, him threatening you, telling you he's going to kill your family if you don't go back to him. And then you know, going through that back and forth. And then, of course, also now ending up pregnant. But the thing is, to go through that in itself is scary, but to go through that as a teenager, because you're still like a young girl. So, I mean, yes. So what happened when you found out now that you're pregnant?
When I found out that I was pregnant, I think, I have to tell you the truth, that was one of the best things that happened to me. So now I am not encouraging young girls to get pregnant at the age of 19. But now I was responsible for a life. My entire outlook on life changed because now I have a child to protect.
That's right.
When I got pregnant, it's not that it got any easier. It actually got worse, his behavior, because then he will use a child to manipulate me or give me my child. So he will take the baby away from me. And I did not want to fight back. I have to tell you, I was afraid. So a matter of fact, there was some war going on down at Scarlet Road where that requires us to actually move or look for protection. Because yes, it was tough. I remember at one point, all his family, sisters, nieces, cousin, had to be at one house, and we had to have guards actually. And when I say guards, I don't mean official, I don't mean bodyguards, I mean
gunmen,
guards actually watching the house while we're sleeping.
What?
So, because there was some gun war and gang war and stuff going on, which we were at risk. When I look back, I said, I don't know how I got myself caught up in such a situation, I'm telling you. So with that, and with the baby, because I had a baby at the time, it was okay for me to go back to my dad's house for protection purposes. So I went to my dad's house. He moved out of Scarlet Road, Spanish Town, and went to Maypen. So that was like freedom for me. So he would come and visit the child. And so he wanted me to move to Maypen with him. And I said, no, I'm not moving. So what he did, he took the baby. And
from you?
Yes. And I did not fight back. I have to tell you, I did not. I was afraid. I was scared. So he took him. And he had him in Maypen for a month. And I did not go to look for the child. I was scared. So he told me that he was going to migrate to the United States. So I had to come and get the baby. So he migrated to the United States. I went down, so I moved to Maypen to live while he was in the United States.
So you ended up living. You ended up living where he was living after he migrated. Okay.
Yes. So that was one of the best time of my life, him being in the United States. I didn't have anybody hounding me, anybody. So I went back to school to do the course. I did a few little things and, was doing my thing. And then he got deported.
Wow. And that was after how long now?
That was like 2 years later.
Wow.
2 years later, he got deported. So then the nightmare started again. So back then now, so I grew a little strength. So 3 weeks after he got deported, I used to work in Kingston, the Kingston Free Zone, and travel to Maypen to live. That's a distance.
Wow.
So I went to the police station and I said, I want to move out, but I don't think my child's father would allow me to move out peacefully. So what I was doing, I was taking my time, making sure that I have stuff that when I come with the police, I can pack up things quickly to move. So one day when I was coming from work, I stopped at the police station and the police escorted me to the house in Maypen where we were living. When he saw the police, he ran. So the police in turn asked me, is he wanted? And I said, I don't know why he ran. And so I picked my stuff up and we got into the van, ready, packed up. So when we got in the van, the police left. So my little sister said that she left her book bag in the house.
Oh no.
So she went inside the house to get the book bag. And only thing I know, the van, I hear all the things dropping off the van and the driver drove off. So I had a baby with me and I'm like, what's going on? And so he said, your baby father was just running after the van. I was in panic mode because now my sister is left back there and I asked him to take me back and he said he's not going back because my baby father is known to have a temper and all of that. So he's not risking it to go back.
Wow.
this is where I said, listen, I'm going to die tonight, because how am I going to tell my mom and my dad that my boyfriend killed my sister?
Yeah.
I'm telling you, God is good, because I walk about 3 blocks to get back to the house. And I went and I knocked on each neighbor door. They didn't even want to open the door because they know how he is. So I knock and say, is Kim inside there? No. Knock on the next door, is Kim inside there? No. And finally I knock on the 3rd door, and she was inside that house. And she came out, but apparently he left. I'm telling you, God is good, because I could have died that night. If he caught, I would have died. So I moved from Montego Bay, not Montego, I moved from Maypen and went to Portmore. And during that move, it's like in 2 to 3 weeks after moving, he got arrested and charged with very bad crime.
Wow.
So that was freedom for me, because now I don't have anybody harassing me. And about 3 years later, I went home and I saw him in the house. I was shocked.
Hold on. I connect the dots. So he got arrested.
Got arrested.
And then you are now living, you know, you're alive on your own.
Yes.
And then 3 years later, he turns up back?
Yeah, he was released from jail, and he found where I live. And when I went home, I saw him at my house there. So now I have to play now that I am not afraid of you, you know, and put this bad, you know, like I'm not afraid anymore. So he tried using the same tactics, like give me my son. But by this, my son was maybe about 5 or 6. I don't remember how old he was, but at that time, he was like, no, let go of my hand. I was empowered, because I'm saying he's fighting.
Yeah.
And he's a baby and he's fighting. Oh my gosh. I got strength from I don't know where. And I started, you know, saying, leave me alone, give me my child and all of that. And that was something.
But that's so interesting though, Karen, because I mean, just moving the story along a bit, just in terms of the fact that having gone through all of that, and we should highlight that during all of that, it's not like you are from a well-to-do family or from a poor background. You were trying to also make ends meet as well during that time with your son. What were some of the work that you were doing, and how did you actually finally get away and migrate to the United States?
So I worked with a company in Jamaica that deal with IT telemarketing. So I ended up coming to the United States, and I take my son with me here. So when I got here, needless to say, I didn't have a college degree in Jamaica. So I had to start from scratch. So I went and did my GED. And this is what I want to say, that education propelled me out of a life of poverty, and also my mindset and my way of thinking. So I went and did my GED, went on to get my doctorate degree from the University of Miami, and currently a nurse practitioner with a doctorate degree, just because of the education that I received.
Wow.
And yes, it was a struggle, but I was determined. My son, as I said early on, when I said that my son was a blessing, because everything that I did at that time was revolved around not making that same mistake or putting him in an environment which will, you know, the outcome would not be great. So everything that I did was to make sure that we were good at the time. So I wanted to kind of put it together, saying that domestic violence doesn't know any color, any creed, any nationality. It can happen to anyone. And I would say to individuals, seek someone to speak to. While it can happen to anyone, women of lower socioeconomical status is of highest risk for being victims of domestic violence. Now you will hear them use the word interchangeably, intimate partner violence or domestic violence. Now there are organizations, not only in Jamaica, but all over the world that can help women if they are in distress or having any problem. So I'd say seek someone to speak to, because as you know, the crime rate for women, especially in Jamaica, being killed Every time you turn on the news, a woman died, killed by her husband, killed by her boyfriend. So this is not something to play with. And the thing is that it is so common. People is used to seeing a man beat upon his woman or his wife and not saying anything, like it's common. We as a society need to make it known that it is not right. It doesn't only affect the individual, like psychologically they're affected or physically they're affected, but it also affects the society, because when the woman goes to the hospital, then that's a hospital bill that she can pay.
That is so true, and I love that word. But I want to stick a pin a little bit more into the personal aspect, because I mean, to have such an impression, you know, an amazing story of growing up poor, being in this abusive relationship with this older man, getting pregnant for him, and then no, not even having much of a, you had a bit of education in Jamaica, but really not much. So you said you did your DED in the States. So, I mean, getting that opportunity to come to the States. So how is it that you were able to really work your way up from just a GED to now having a doctorate? What did you have to do? I'm sure it was not easy in the initial stage.
Listen, I am glad that you asked, because remember I told you that I used to go to school sometime and I wasn't an avid reader. So with that, I had my challenges, but I utilized every resource that the university or the college offers. So they had a reading lab. So when I write my paper, I'll take it to the reading lab for them to read it over. If I have maths work, I'll go to the math lab. So I will find time to make sure, because there was no ifs, there was no ands, there was no buts. This was my ticket out and I had no other choice. So I studied hard. And you know, some people who read the content and I will get it so quickly, I wasn't one of those people. I had repetition. I had to use certain skills, certain things to remember the content. Hence, that's why I created Danvers Nursing Institute, to help people who have, not only individuals who have problems learning anything, but education is like on the top of my list of things to help individual with, because I know that it can propel us out of a life of poverty. With now the world is changing, so people can do other things, but I know that was what helped me.
So Karen, in addition to all that you experienced and amidst your triumphs now, after you migrated to the US, you're now working your way up. In the midst of all of that, I understood that you also experienced a situation with your health, a scare. Tell us about that.
Yes. So while I was doing my doctorate degree and getting ready to finish, I found out that I had thyroid cancer and I had to have surgery.
Wow.
So when I found out, it was very devastating, because no one in my family had cancer. So that was kind of surprising. So the first person I called was my teacher, saying that just got the news, I diagnosed with cancer. I have to have surgery. How will this affect me finishing my doctorate degree? So she said that she would work with me, and I did the surgery. I did 2 surgeries, and I was able to, finish my doctorate degree, because I bounced back really quickly. But throughout the years, after it met to my chest, so I ended up having bone cancer, then it met to my skull, then I had to have a craniectomy. It's been a ride, but listen, there's a saying that says, the hotter the battle, the sweeter the victory. And guess what happened? I'm still in the victory phase, so I'm not giving up.
Oh, wow, was such an inspiration. You are a fighter and a thriver, and you have, perhaps it's maybe because of what you've been through or what you went through, it just gave you that fighting spirit that nothing can stop you, like you're unstoppable.
Nothing. I'm continuing to do what I can do, give back, climb, because I believe that, I sincerely believe that God has blessed me to be in this position for a reason and for a purpose. He didn't take me from Scarlet Road, almost death door, to take me here to sit down and look cute. Yes. So guess what happened? Bring it. Cancer come, and I'm going to do what I got to do. And I have to tell you that I have a lot of support, family support, friend support. And, it's a funny, each time that one of them, and don't get me wrong, have I cried? In all, I've had 8 surgery from my head to my chest, 8. 1 in my head, 1 in my chest, and 6 in my neck. And there are times when I break down and cry. And I'm going to cry because I'm only human, but I'm going to get up. And throughout that period, I've accomplished so much that I have to be giving God thanks. And I'm just going to keep on going. And then who can I help along the way?
That's right.
Help along the
way. Oh my God, that's awesome. That is awesome. I'm a bit sober because I'm just listening to your story, and, you know, as I mentioned, just knowing that a lot of other people, you know, because I know persons who've also been through such experiences and had to find a way to get out as well. And so it's a reality. It's a reality for so many people. So, I mean, I applaud, and I'm happy that you were able to do so. I'm happy that you were able to make something of your life. Not only just make something of your life, but I mean, you have a doctorate, you know, Dr. Perez, you more than made it, you know, that's amazing. So, I mean, we're winding down, but one of the things I wanted you to share with our viewers is, you know, just the importance of loving yourself, but also how is it that you can keep moving forward, even going through such situations?
And that's it. Self-love is one of the most important things, because if you don't love yourself, it's going to be difficult for you to think that anybody else could. You have to love yourself first. Self-love and also self-care. One of the most common things is that because you think you're not beautiful enough, you think you're not pretty, you think you're not smart. So when anybody comes off the road and feed you something, you're more likely to gobble it up. But if you're confident and know that you look good, you're smart, you're intelligent, you're pretty, anybody comes to tell you you look good, you can say, no, I know. You know, it doesn't faze you.
Yes.
So self-love, self-care is very important. So I wanted to, if you don't mind, plug something in. That not only that I work as I'm a certified nurse practitioner as a nurse, but I'm also an educator. And that's my mission is to inform, educate, and to empower. So in addition to that, I told you earlier on that I have a organization by the name of Danvers Nursing Institute.
That's correct.
So Danvers Nursing Institute is an organization that helps prepare nursing students to take the exam. So, you know, one may say, how does this couple to with your abuse? Now, I know the challenges that I had. I had a son, I had 3 jobs. I know the challenges that I had when I was studying and going to school. So with Danvers Nursing Institute, not only that we prepare nurses to take the exam, we also have coaching. Wow. I have a lady that I'm working with, she have anxiety. Some single mothers, what are the resources that we can find for them, and also getting nurse ready to take the NCLEX. And we have nurses from Jamaica too, who come to the United States to take the boards. They may do their schooling in Jamaica, but they will come up to the United States, and we offer these services and use traditional and non-traditional method to help them to be successful. The same method that I use when I thought that I don't like reading, I don't like studying, I don't like doing this. What I did, all those years of experience, I put them together and create a platform which can help other individuals to become successful in the field of healthcare.
That is awesome. And I mean, that's, you know, we applaud you for that. We applaud you for, you know, reaching so many other people through your organization, through your, you know, your company. And I mean, you know, it's very impressive. I'm really here, as I said, just astonished by your story, to see somebody rise from literally pain and suffering and hurt and brokenness. And you know, the thing is, Karen, very often people will ask, why when he hit you, or why he hit you several times, why did you keep going back? And the truth is, I know, well, not me personally, but I understand, because I've come to understand that it may be because of, you know, Stockholm syndrome. Some will refer to it as, some for various reasons. But for you, why was it that you kept going back?
To be honest, one, I loved him at the time. I did. Two, the thought of going to someone's house for them to put you up, even my very own father, and the shame of it, it was much easier going back there and dealing with that. And we mean that to his home. So I felt embarrassed to go anywhere else for someone to ask me, what happened to you? Why did you stay? When I go back there, I know what I'm dealing with. So one, I was in love with him, took us back home. And I'm going to tell you this, even for children who are abused, people think that people run from abuse, but the psychological aspect of it is that you see that most people who are in an abusive relationship tend to attach or be close to their abuser. So it is not uncommon for that to happen.
Yes.
So it is, and I tell you, no one can help you to come out of abusive relationship until you're ready.
Wow, that's a critical point. No one can help you until you're ready, because it's really you that have to make up your mind and say, like, you know, this is it, I'm gonna get out. I'm going to get out. Wow, Karen, it has been an amazing interview. I think that's a fitting note to end on. You have to be ready. No one else can help you. We applaud you for sharing, and it's just a bit of your story, because I mean, your rise from such a situation, from a circumstance, is, you know, we could be here for hours, to be honest, talking. So this is really just a bit of your story, but we are happy that you were able to get out. We're happy that you are reaching now other people, you know, through your organization, Danvers Nursing Institute in Florida, right? In Florida, yes. Giving back, and also giving back to Jamaica as well, helping other women who are in domestic abuse situations and reaching out. So we applaud you. I don't know if there's any other comments that, you know, words of inspiration that you want to share as we go.
I want to say to the women, once there's life, there's hope. Don't give up. You are strong, you're beautiful, and you're wonderfully made. Seek help if you're in a domestic violence relationship. Seek help. Family member, police officer, police station, and other organizations that may exist in Jamaica, and there's a lot of them.
Yes, definitely. Thank you so much, Karen. Karen Perez.
Thank you so much for having me.
Karen Perez, CEO of Danvers Nursing Institute, with that inspirational story, rising from poverty, rising from domestic abuse, almost dying at the hands of her abuser, being traumatized psychologically, physically, so many other ways. But here she is, not only surviving, but thriving. Dr. Karen Perez, making a difference in the world, and truly a trailblazer. Thank you so much. We really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you.
Hey everyone, I am Tamara, McKayle, television and radio presenter, producer, communication specialist, and of course producer and host of the TrailBlazers series. I'm inviting you to join the family. All you have to do is just click that notification bell. Make sure you hit that subscribe button so you're alerted as to when we have new episodes, and then join us for weekly inspirational episodes that will not only lift your spirits, but will give you the tools, the keys, and the strategies that you need so that you can blaze your trail.